Judging by the thumbnail, I think this guy is saying that we lost because they increased the prices to 70, 80, 90, 100, even more than that for video games that aren't even really all that good. I don't know what this video is about other than that, so let's check it out.
Okay, something's going on. It has been pissing me off, and I think it's no doubt been kind of angering you guys as well. And well, let's see if you can quite manage it. Lies of P, Total War Pharaoh, Baldur's Gate 3. Don't like to see you there in the list, Baldur's Gate, but I suppose it is here. Starfield, Forza Motorsport, Mortal Kombat 1, Payday 3, EA Sports, Football Club 24, and Ghost Runner 2. What do you think all these games have in common? The answer is they have all found a way to get a little bit more money out of people by exploiting a little bit of the old FOMO on launch day. And that is because each one of these games somehow made extra money by offering premium access to those people who would be willing to pay. And if Baldur's Gate being in that list threw you for a loop, don't worry, it did throw me for a loop as well, because it only had the premium early access happen on the PS5, which, I mean, it's kind of obvious given they did, Steam early access over in Steam. But yeah, even for that, for their PS5 release, they...
Yeah, but Baldur's Gate 3, that was a little bit different because they weren't the biggest company, and they were just trying to make the best game that they could, and they were looking for people to give them pointers. They released this beta way before the actual game even released. So that, oh, and the early access, I forgot about the early access. Which, if it's a small company, I just kind of don't care. If it's somebody that's like EA, they don't need to make that much money, and their games are garbage. So like, what's the point? Doesn't affect me. None of this really even affects me anyway, because I don't pay full price for games. I don't buy the games that come out. I bought Baldur's Gate 3, but that was different. Baldur's Gate 3 was just a different game.
Did it that way. And it does show that, like, this is a very widely spread phenomenon. It's happening from many, many different developers out there, and it quite obviously does make a lot of money. Now, it's also something that happens in MMOs. It happens in ARPGs too, like Diablo 3, and that can be kind of tricky because these are games that have that kind of social element, right? Where you want to be playing with your friends. You don't, well, I don't anyway, like the idea that... and I suppose the way they're trying to sell this to, to the average customer is, hey, your friends are playing this game. Look on Twitch.television. All those streamers are playing the game, and you can't. Fork up the bucks. And sometimes that could be $10, could be 20, could be 30, hell, even 40, depending on what edition we are dealing with. Now, this is a headline from...
The games that I care about and the games that I watch people play have been games that have been out for like 10 plus years sometimes. And a lot of the gameplay that I watch is from like Game Grumps, Oni plays. So they play a lot of older games. Older games is what I'm into. Newer games are garbage, and they're all the same. Or at least they try to be.
PC Gamer. World of Warcraft director says players who pay for early access to the next expansion won't have a, quote, long-term advantage. Because yes, if you want to be the first person to hit level 80 in World of Warcraft, The War Within, yeah, you'll have to pay, right? You won't get the world first if you don't pony up. Now, of course, world first max level, nobody really cares about that massively, in a game like World of Warcraft anymore. It's not like it was in the past. And in a way, like, it doesn't give you a humongous advantage, right? World of Warcraft's one of those games where
Tried
the
World of
loot that
Warcraft.
matters is...
I didn't like World of Warcraft. Not my kind of game. I don't like MMOs really. I don't like Destiny. The online games that I'm really into is like Halo or Borderlands.
generally
I like the
throttles on a
co-op
weekly
adventures.
basis. Within the early access period, you won't be able to do like a weekly quest or a Mythic plus 0 dungeon. Those things that would get you the better gear. So insofar as the end game goes, the only benefit is you have more time to level up alts and to prepare alts. And for some people, that might actually be a meaningful thing. Of course, even power aside, I would say that if we focus too much here on the advantage that this sort of thing gives a player, that actually means that we are focusing less on the psychological elements that are at play here, and I think those are the ones that feel, in a way, the most egregious to us. Of course, some other examples here. Xbox had 5 days of premium access for Starfield and for Forza. Of course, that was a way for them to do the whole upgrade path for the Game Pass subscribers. We had the premium access.
And they both ended up being garbage. Well, they were good, but not at the level of good they should have been. So what was the justification for playing it early? Who cares? And nothing changes by playing it early. I guess the people who it really affects to play early is like reviewers who don't get review copies. But even still, I really don't care. I watch the reviews after the game has already been out, so it doesn't affect me once again.
And PlayStation for Baldur's Gate 3. Then, of course, there are some games that had multiplayer systems you could access early, like Mortal Kombat 1 and EA Sports Football Club 24, where, yes, you will probably want to get some more time into the game to actually try to be better than your friends. Also, there are some other ones that, well, really did have it backfire, because for Payday 3, you could actually buy premium early access. However, the access bit is not necessarily granted, really, in any of these scenarios, given technical issues. But in Payday 3, their servers hardcore died, and the game didn't exactly have a single-player mode, so if you did buy that better edition for the sake of early access, you will have felt pretty damn bad. But ultimately here, it's fairly simple. You have your projected number of sales.
Dude, I didn't even know about that. See, that's another thing. What if you do pay to play early, and then it just doesn't work because too many people did it? That's one of those instances. And then you paid that money for nothing. And there's nothing really you can do about it.
That offering this on a more expensive edition, an edition that you're going to put out anyway, because there's always going to be a digital deluxe edition that comes with some cosmetics. They can put this into the digital deluxe edition and they can increase their average spend per user by, I don't know, 20%. Turns out that is a way where you can simply increase your revenue by 20%. Increasing the number of players who buy your game by 20%, probably quite a bit harder. And ultimately we know that this does work, and while we cannot, run a controlled experiment here, it very much doesn't seem like this is something that has much of a negative impact, other than people like you and me talking about it with our mates over the internet and saying, oh god, back in the day this used to not be as bad. That is why...
Yeah, well, I don't usually play games where that's an issue. I mean, Borderlands 3, I guess, but I didn't care about the cosmetics in that game because I'm not looking at myself usually. And if I am looking at myself, I'll just put on one of the skins that I already get in the game for free. Which I understand, like, yeah, there shouldn't be these microtransactions, but like, I really just don't care. I'm going to play a game if I like it, and if the game is riddled with microtransactions, I'm not going to like it and I'm not going to play it. So people can just keep bitching. I'm just going to play my old games that don't have any of that stuff in it anyway.
The industry is moving towards selling you for not being punished, but it turns out this is but one thing in a long line of very interesting tactics. Some tactics from back in the day when I was younger that many of us may even have forgotten. But there's one thing you shouldn't forget. That is Bellular.ghost.io. As an example here is the full research report that my team produced for this topic. Our members get all of those reports, as well as Loading Screen, which is our daily, 5 days a week newsletter. You get early access to videos, which I know is rather hilarious, given it is
I have
this
been
video.
to
But
this
at the end of the day,
website.
we
I didn't even
generally
know
try
it
to
was
be ahead of
theirs.
ourselves in production. Obviously, if we just spit everything out onto YouTube within a single day, we will be algorithmically slaughtered, as well as other bonus goodies and things. It's also the best way to support what we're doing, which right now is particularly appreciated because the advertisement rates that we get on the platform are, quite frankly, awful. They have fallen 40% year on year, which is kind of tricky. It means it's harder to, actually have a team to make sure that our info is good and that our analysis actually lands. So you can check out bellular.ghost.io for more of that. And with that said, let's discuss why this became the de facto way of getting a few more bucks out of people. And it is basically because this happens to align perfectly with the motivations of the money people, because the enemy of the money people in games is time, right? That basically is the situation. Time is pretty much always the enemy. This is an industry that changed a lot over the last 10 years. As an example, even think of Project $10. You may have totally forgotten about this, but it was a marvelous thing pioneered by Electronic Arts CEO John Riccitiello. We know him from the recent news cycle. I wonder what his next gig will be. But what that was is that if you purchased a video game new, that video game inside it would have a code, right? And you would need to enter that code in order to unlock multiplayer functionality. This meant that a pre-owned game, well, couldn't play multiplayer until you went and purchased the code. This
Didn't they do that to like one of the Need for Speed games? I didn't play any of those games that had to have any of the codes like that. I didn't even know that was a thing, except for the Need for Speed. What was it? Hot Pursuit, or was it Most Wanted? I don't remember. But yeah, that's garbage, man.
is basically because at the time it was perceived that pre-owned was kind of killing video games. And you can sort of understand why it was very annoying for the publishers.
Yeah, people were buying used games, so the publisher was like, you know what? We're going to fight against this. We're going to do a thing that the consumers do not want us to do. Goes well every time. You have to get with the times, man. If people start moving toward used games, you got to figure out how to counteract that, get them away from there without forcing them away, because you're just going to piss everybody off. And I'm guessing that's what happened. They pissed everybody off because it seems like they've just been going downhill year after year.
Publisher spends all these millions to get these developers to make a game, right? The developers make the game, but the publishers and the developers only make money on new sales of a game. So there's a game for $70, you sell it to GameStop, GameStop gives you $40, they then sell it to, or $30, I don't know, they probably give you nothing. They then sell, the game a second time to somebody else. And in that second transaction,
and that's where you introduce microtransactions, so you can monetize people even if they have a used copy of the game. But now, people don't get used copies, they just buy it online. But we still have the microtransactions. And they don't have to cover the cost of printing physical copies. It's just greed.
the game company makes absolutely shag all money. You can see how that was, not something that they loved. And this is, in fact, one of the reasons why digital has been so pushed, on the industry. Obviously, the other side of digital is it is really bloody convenient. Now, that was a tactic that back in the day hit the time-sensitive gamer or the patient gamer, right? The person's actually willing to wait a little bit of time, get the game for cheaper, and all of that stuff. And that just kind of shows how, time is fairly important. Think about how much a game is discounted. It's the same game. In fact, it's actually a better version of that game. And if you just wait 6 months, you'll get the same damn thing at half the price. Yet, why do we all go, oh my god, it's launch day, hype, let's go? And then we all
and then it doesn't work.
like that. We put emotes in the chat and we get excited. It's because launch day is launch day. The reason why the patient gamer is venerated is because we all think, look at you get these great experiences for less.
I didn't play Cyber. I waited just about a decade for Cyberpunk. And then when it came out, I didn't play it for probably a year. And I didn't even really finish it. I am finishing it now. I just beat Phantom Liberty, and I'm working on finishing up everything else that I have to do. I'm about 10 achievements away from having all of the achievements.
Money, but I am not strong enough. I buy games new. And that just shows that actually there is a really major value in buying the game right now when it's in the zeitgeist. Like, I will play Alan Wake 2 late, and I won't enjoy that at the same time the rest of the world is in there. And
I still haven't played Alan Wake 2, and I'm definitely going to be playing it at some point.
could say that I will lose a little bit of value from that. And I think that just shows
I
how
lose
powerful
absolutely no
time is
value.
in a world where every consumer knows they can get a better deal, a better game for less money. In large part, they choose not to go with that option. And we
I
all
do.
do it. So no
I do it.
wonder if time is that important of a psychological hook in the average consumer that they do this. And this is where we actually get some fantastic numbers. I was kind of, my jaw dropped a little bit. I mean, it wasn't really out of surprise. It was just out of the sheer moneyness of it all. But yeah, when Connor pulled up this statistic for today's research, even in spite of the branding change, obviously from FIFA 24 to EA Sports FC 24, they saw a 25% increase in premium access numbers for the game. That was, of course, no doubt helped by the period of play being increased to 7 days. Yes, you just get the game flat out a week early. How far are they going to push this thing, guys? You think we're ever just going to have, like, I don't know, you get the Saudi Prince edition. It comes out it costs $5,000 and it comes out 6 months early. A build just for you. Okay, that's me obviously taking the piss, but hey, it just does show
If they could do it, they'll do it.
Impactful this kind of thing is, and that is why, folks, the FOMO is going to be ramped up and up and up and up. So the question then is, right, we've used FOMO, we've used the premium access thing. What's the next
I
thing
don't think
we're
we're
going to do?
missing
And this is
out
where
on
we have another
Football
fantastic
Club.
evolution from Electronic Arts. Right, let's go on this. So they've really ramped up the FOMO. Pre-order now and receive extra content. Football Club, whatever it is, Heroes for a limited. Oh, it's UEFA. Yes, limited time only. UEFA Champions League Hero. Pre-order Ultimate Team before 22nd of August to get an additional untradeable Team Hero in November. Even if you weren't going to go for that big, premium access thing, the pre-orders have a cutoff date, so now there's even FOMO with the pre-order, which obviously is them just trying to get that revenue right the hell now. If you're doing like a physical thing, like this book we did, or this art book for our video game, you can understand that because it's a physical.
Yeah, this is another thing that I've been seeing games trying to do. Is like, the game releases in October. If you pay an extra $20, say that's $70 plus 20, that makes $90, then you get to play the early access for the new mode in January.
Item, you've got to be like, all right, these are the numbers. I want to do some manufacturing. We didn't actually end up having to do that because with how the order quantities worked, we ended up just being able to buy like more than enough because we were able to hit a certain amount of volume where it was safe to do so. But anyway, it's kind of no longer really the point. Basically, this is just even more FOMO being applied. It's like every single stage of a game's. I mean, it's insane now that they're not even being like, hey, do you want to watch the next Call of Duty trailer a week early? Give us $1. Please don't do that. Please, EA, please, Activision, don't do that. Anyway, point is, they're absolutely ramping up that not particularly nice stuff. But what about if this sort of thing was to happen to an entire character in a fighting game that also is caught up in this entire situation with premium access and pre-order nonsense? Here's just the headline of the Reddit post that exploded from PC Gaming. Warner Brothers Game Support wrote me that I'm not getting my pre-order Mortal Kombat 1 Shang Tsung character because I ordered the game yesterday and it's not pre-ordered. What a pity that the game is not advertised like this on Steam. Isn't that cool? Yes, this is a very interesting thing where if you pre-ordered Mortal Kombat 1, you get the long-time series villain as a playable character.
And nobody else gets it. That's ridiculous.
Now, this is a game that came out September 19th. If you bought the premium edition of the game, you got 1 week early access starting on the 14th. Now, this early access would imply that it's a bonus in the game's launch, right? That it's not the actual launch, right? Because it's early access, not the launch, which happens later. Therefore, buying the game on the 17th, which, bear in mind, is before the launch day, which is the 19th, that should count as a pre-order, right? Per Warner Brothers Game Support, evidently not. From their point of view, it did not count as, did not count as a pre-order of the game because the player who, by the way, didn't buy the more expensive version of the game, didn't actually buy the launch day, I suppose. It's just weird, right? It's like they almost kind of violate their own logic of why it would even be called early access in the first place. But of course, it's because we all know that it was never about early access to a game, and it was always about selling the true release date because, yes, scumbags, pretty much. Look, pre-orders, they can be bad for a consumer. It's one of those things, when it's done by the super big companies, can be a bit of an issue. There's even times like with Pale Beyond, we didn't do pre-orders, and like the reason why we didn't do pre-orders was because it actually doesn't really help you at all. It actually can even hurt you on the Steam algorithm. So we decided not to do pre-orders for that reason. Now, there could be an example where maybe we did an early access or something like that, and maybe it's like, I mean, I don't know. There's probably scenarios where it's fine, but you have to be very, very, very clear and, open with everybody about that. You don't obviously a situation where it's like, hey, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to come out in 45 years. Pre-order it now. But yeah, pre-orders, we know those are rumbly, but now premium access, what is it? It is a tool that adds nothing to your game. It takes away from the launch experience. It is just trying to manipulate human psychology, and
100%
effectively
agreed.
it's manipulating the fact that we are a social
And
species.
I don't buy into it. I do not buy into that crap. I don't buy into the fear of missing out bullcrap. And if a game is gonna pull that crap, I won't buy it. Because I'm not gonna play a game where I missed out on a big chunk of the main content that's been in the series forever since the very first one. And you want me to pay to get in early just to have that character? No, thank you. I won't be playing Mortal Kombat 1 until maybe they have the Ultimate Edition that's got like everything in it for $20.
And that's fairly disgusting. And that's really it for the video. That's the whole point. It's happening more and more. Now it's happening in World of Warcraft, which of course is the Blizzard game that I do play the most. I'll be transitioning over to Stormgate soon. Keep it up, Stormgate boys. Anyway, that's essentially the crack there. If you want to support me and my team, well, you can go to bellular.ghost.io. Thank you to everybody who has joined the membership there. It means a lot, and it is genuinely extremely helpful, to, actually making all the bills and all of the goals that I've talked about, where I want us to be like less dependent on a YouTube advertisement rate. As an example, we were hitting record views for the channel, and we were like barely having any more revenue from that compared to previous times, because the amount of money we got per 1,000 views actually went so low. And I mean, in a way, that's obviously our problem, not your problem. But hey, I feel like if our incentives are more directly aligned, and we can almost be making content far more directly for all of you guys, that ultimately is a more sustainable and healthy position for absolutely everybody around the place. Because, yeah,
everybody's ad revenue's going down because it's coming into the holidays. Plus, YouTube's money that they're giving out is just not the same as it used to be. So they've got more competition, and everybody's really hating on YouTube as of late. They're looking for somewhere else to go, and a lot of people have already left.
Ad-supported models are sometimes good because stuff's free at the point of access, and we all like that, but yeah, they can kind of have negative downsides, externalities, eh? Anyhow, I've mused about that enough. Bellular.ghost.io. Thank you to everybody, and you can check out the membership there, where you'll get a whole bunch of additional content from our team. Currently now written, I certainly do want to move that into some podcasts and things as time goes on.
I'm going to move into some podcasts and things as time goes on also. Well, I don't care all that much about video games being $70, $80, $90 plus, because I'm just not going to pay that unless I really, really, really think the game is worth it, like Baldur's Gate 3. But I'm not going to buy into these cosmetic microtransactions and these early access pre-order bonuses. No thank you, that's all just manipulative garbage. And your game isn't good enough to justify me to pay $100 for it, just for it to maybe not work on launch day, or the beta not work anyway. So like, who cares? Obviously, a lot of people. I don't. They're all stupid.